And welcome to Lard Island, and we are back with Dave Brown, and having endured the previous two films, we now get to the meat and potatoes bit where we're going to play a game, and I think that's probably the bit you have all been waiting for at home. What we're going to do, Dave's going to tell us exactly what's happening, and we're going to run it through from the very outset of a game. So first of all, we're going to look at our commanders, how we work out what their qualities are, and then we're going to go through the whole setup of a game before we actually play it. So let's start at the very beginning, Dave. Where do we start?
Well, the beginning is what we're going to do is we're going to establish your divisional commander-in-chief's ability, and then we're going to move on to the ability of our individual brigadiers.
Okay.
So, dead simple for your CNCs. Is we both grab two dice,
couple of d6,
couple of d6.
Right.
We just roll the d6, and the total gives us the ability. You roll first.
And you're the French, and I'm the heroic Austrians.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've rolled 6.
6. It gives us the average for an Allied commander in 1813, which is classed as a commissariat. Now, a commissariat gets the standard number of ADCs for this battle, which will be 5. So we can give you those in a second.
Right.
And you also get 1, because you're a commissariat, CNC command.
Right.
And we'll discuss those in a moment.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I'll do the same. I'll roll mine for the French.
Yeah.
And I've rolled 9. Now in 1813, 9 is a campaigner, which is an experienced general. He also gets 5 ADCs for his division, but he will get 2 CNC commands.
Right.
Because he's a more experienced general with a better staff. So immediately you can see that although the number of ADCs are the same, whereas under GDA 1 there might have been an ADC difference, the difference here is that the French commander has more CNC commands.
Right, and those represent the interventions that he can make at decisive moments during the battle. So you've just got the edge on me there. Okay, great. Now, what about these? These guys here are our brigade commanders, aren't they? Do we dice for those as well?
So the way it works, I'll do the French first.
Yeah, show us how it's done.
So in the division we're going to be using today, we've got 4 brigades apiece. We've got 3 infantry brigades and 1 cavalry brigade, just to keep things simple. So that gives us 4 brigadiers, 1 for each brigade. And what you do is you simply roll 1d6 for each brigadier.
One at a time, or do you roll them all together?
I roll them as a hand. It's probably quicker because the French can allocate them. So what we're looking for with the French, if I roll a single 6, one of my brigadiers will be promoted to bold. Okay. Which means he's more likely to get his division obeying orders, or get his brigade obeying orders, I should say. And if I get a double 1 out of these dice, one of mine will be poor. Right.
Okay. So slim chance of that, but it could happen.
It could happen. So I'll roll those, and we'll see what we get.
Right. Just 1 1.
1 1.
A 1 2. 4 4, no 6s, so you don't have anybody bold.
No.
But equally you don't have anybody who's a complete git.
So all 4, they're all standard brigadiers, which seems about right for 1813. Now for the Austrians, they work on a slightly different pattern. Right. Is because their generals were not generally as good as the French. They're either less experienced, they didn't have quite good staff, or they were not as shall I say, as keen to get involved. They will get a bold general on a double 6. Right. Or a poor general on a double 1 or a double 2.
Okay, right. So do I roll them all together?
All together, and we'll see what you get.
Okay, well, I've actually not rolled anything exciting. 2, 3, 3, 4. So pretty ordinary guys.
It's 1813, so it's not too bad. So again, there's no double 6, no double 1, no double 2. So all your brigadiers are standard. Okay. So therefore, we've sorted the ability of our generals, and that's it for CNC ability and brigadier ability. Okay, great. Now, before we go, I see you've got a couple of caissons. Yes. And I've got a couple of caissons just over there out of shot, which is where my army is going to be deploying. And we've got these guys. These are ADCs. These are the ADCs.
Yeah.
So for your ADCs, you can either use figures like I have here,
who look like ADCs.
Oddly enough, look like suspiciously like ADCs, or you can use markers. You can use literally anything you like.
Yeah.
Both sides in this game, because we're your standard CNC quality, we're both going to get 5 apiece.
Okay, great. So what do we do next?
Right, so next we come to deployment, and what we'll do is we will show you how the defender sets up and then how the attacker scouts and then sets up as well.
Right, so I'm going to move around to my side of the table and we'll get started. Right, Dave, well, you've got your leaders over there. We haven't got our armies on the table yet because GDA 2 has got a really exciting and interesting system of deployment that we're now going to show you. So what I've done here, I've got my 4 brigade commanders, and I've allocated each of them a number. 1, 2, 3 and 4, and I've got another one. But you tell us how it works. So I know who my guys are. Tell me how our system now works, Dave.
So each brigadier gives takes a dice. So instead of having the brigade or the brigadiers on table, we simply have the dice to represent his brigade and his brigade area. So the idea is that the defending player knows what the corresponding dice numbers represent.
So I've made a note of that in secret.
And obviously I don't, and nor do I know. You will get 2 dummies in your hand. You've decided that your cavalry brigade will be an off-table reserve. So you gain a dummy D6 for that, and again you can just allocate that a number. And also every defending army gets just a bonus dummy dice just to add to the fog of war.
So I need 5 dice.
Yes, 5 dice. You place those. Every defender can go basically up to the halfway point on the table, which for the purpose of our game we'll say is up to the village here and down through there. Now you place those in the order that you want to, mixing in your dummies to confuse me.
So I'm going to place 1 dice there, marked number 1. That's in this large sort of grand chateau type building. I'm going to put a second one over here by this small village. I'm going to put a third one in the centre there. I'm going to put a 4th one on the flank there. And I'm going to put a 5th one, number 5, over there on the right.
Over there. So in the standard game, the attacker gets 3 scouting attempts to reveal these dice and what the brigades are. The scouting is carried out very simply. Is we just have an opposed 2d6 roll, and if I beat you, that brigade is placed on the table. So this is the stage where obviously the attacker should have a plan. Now, whether you believe this or not, I actually have got a plan for my glorious 1813 French army.
There's a first time for everyone.
I know, it's really good. So in order to execute that plan, what I need to do is I'm going to scout. The first one I'm going to scout is dice number 4 to try and reveal what that is.
Okay, so we roll
1d6 each, just an opposed roll.
So I rolled a 3. Oh, 4.
And I've rolled a 4. Right, so what that does, I've scouted it. So the dice comes off. And then you place that brigade on the table.
Right, okay, should we do that now?
Yeah, we'll do that now.
Let's do that. Okay, so there we go. There's my first brigade down. I placed my brigadier where the dice was. Everybody has to deploy within 30 centimetres of that, which is a foot in real money. So you've got another spotting attempt now, haven't you?
I've got, well, each standard size division gets 3, so I've got another 2 in the bag. So who are you spotting now, there? Yeah, so that's revealed a powerful brigade on your left flank. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to experiment and I'm going to look at number 5. So we're going to try and send out my chasseurs to scout 5. 2.
I've only rolled a 2.
And also, I've got good scouting.
So that's another infantry brigade.
Oh, yes. So
we'll put another one down there. So I'll put the brigadier down and we will now deploy and see what all is revealed. So there we go. We put my brigade down. Not as powerful, that one. We've got quite a bit of troops in there. We've got landwehr in there. We have got one battalion of line, and these guys are Grenzers, right, border troops, and we've got the skirmishers out the front. So one more attempt, Dave.
So one more attempt.
It's all going to be revealed.
So this isn't bad for 1813.
No.
So in that case, then we've done pretty well. Well, I think you'll occupy these villages. So let's try my final scouting attempt.
Only three. My cavalry, I think.
Done all three scouting attempts.
David, our survey says that's nothing. There's nothing there.
It was the dummy. We've revealed one of the bit of fog of war. There was maybe some hussars or something running around. Okay, right. Well, that's the end of my scouting attempts. Yeah. And
so I've still got 2 dice on here.
2 dice. Yeah.
You know one of them is a dummy, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I know one of them will be a dummy. But what that does, not only does it give me the good scouting benefit that allows one of my brigades to start further in table. Yeah. Generally, the attacker will start up to 20 inches in table for a 15mm game, a foot for your 28. Right. But if you are successful in 2 or more scouting attempts, one of my brigades can deploy forward up to 40. Right. Centimetres. So that gives me a bit of a jump. So which obviously I will do. Yeah, absolutely. So as you can see, that gives me some good intelligence on your dispositions. It does. And now all that happens now is I deploy all of my division that I have on table. Fine. So I've got my 3 brigades. I'll deploy those on table, and then after that you simply deploy your remaining 1. So I'm going to deploy based on what I can see before me. Right, the French army is now deployed. So the French have got 1 brigade on the right, the Polish brigade in the centre, and taking advantage of the good scouting role, which allowed a brigade to deploy further in table, we've deployed this French infantry brigade as close as we can to this Austrian formation. The French are keeping their cavalry as an off-table reserve, as the same as the Austrians are. So that is deployment almost completed. All that happens now is that Richard reveals his final dice, the ones I did not scout. Okay. So we've got the number 2, which is
this gentleman here. Number 2 is nothing.
Oh, it's another dummy. Yeah.
Number 1 is this gentleman here, and he's going to put the brigadier in there.
And he's going to garrison that.
And he's going to garrison that, and actually he's going to extend out this way as well. So let's
get the troops.
I tried to trick you slightly in terms of my deployment, which is what it's all about. And I think I tricked myself because I'm a bit worried about that brigade that's coming on over there, because my plan was to move some troops from here to garrison this built up area, but I think I've got enough on my hands over there, because obviously you were very successful in out scouting me, and that's meant that you've deployed in a manner which is advantageous to you.
Brilliant. It's genius.
It's amazing to watch, David. It's like an exhibition match. You truly are the Harlem Globetrotters of wargaming.
So 2 battalions of Grenadiers, a battalion of line, and another battalion of Grenzer. Just to spice things up a bit. Get a skirmish line.
So how do I deploy in the built-up area, Dave?
Just 1 battalion can garrison, and you can just put them in any way you like.
Any way you like. Right. Okay. So we'll have our garrison in there.
And they can go there. There's your Grenzers, and they can go wherever you like.
Right. Well, I'm having them here in column behind my
always
line.
Have a second line.
Yeah. And I've got my skirmishers who are out the front there.
Yeah.
Right. Great. Okay.
Okay. So that is deployment done. we can move onto the first turn, and we'll just cover the command and control process, so it's very straightforward. So what happens is that both players will roll 1d6 for each ADC that they have.
Okay, so we've both got 5.
Yep.
So I'm going to roll my 5 dice here. Well, not a bad roll. 6, 6, 4, 3, 3.
Right, I'll roll mine, and then we'll go through the results. So I've got
not as good. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6.
So nearly a full house. So we'll do Richard's first. So as we discussed in the previous videos, 1s and 2s mean they're not available. 3 or more is available. So you have 5 ADCs all available on turn 1.
Yep.
However, the double 6 always gives you an extra ADC.
Wow.
So you've moved up to 6 ADCs.
Right.
So you've got 6, whereas the 1 and the 2 is non-availability, but the 4, 5 and 6 gives me 3 ADCs.
Right.
So I have 3 available.
Right. So I need an extra one. Give us one. Lend me one of yours.
Yes, actually, I have one of mine who looks more or less.
Okay, yeah, fine.
Man.
Right, good work. Now, tell me, I've got 6 ADCs, and these are really important. This is a key part of the game, isn't it? This is what represents my ability to influence what's happening on the tabletop. So what can I use my ADCs to do? Because we need to allocate these before the turn begins, yeah?
Yes, correct. So there's 12 taskings that you can assign your ADCs to.
Yeah.
And they vary from simply making sure that your brigade obeys orders, which is the brigade attachment reroll. So if you want to avoid hesitancy, you put the ADC down and you get a reroll of your brigade command roll. Then all the others are about enhancing your brigade's performance. Right. So if you wanted to do artillery assault, that's 2 ADCs that you would place with that brigade to do that.
So actually, that's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to place 2 ADCs here because I'm a bit worried that I've not deployed as well as I could have done. That's my fault. I was very worried about my flanks, so I attempted to cover them, and I've kind of left my centre a bit weak. So what I need to do is make sure my guns do some damage at the outset. And if I can destroy this brigade here with a combination of gun fire and maybe an attack, that will give me a lot of flexibility. So I'm going to put 2 ADCs to give me the enhanced artillery, but I'm also going to put a third one with them. Then that's the reroll, because if they go hesitant, my enhanced artillery fire is no good, so I definitely want them to do that. So that's sucked up half of my ADCs.
So that's where you're concentrating effort, but you do have quite a lot.
I do have a lot, David. So, I'm obviously a much better general than you.
On turn 1, yes.
So I'm going to put one over here on the right. That's going to be for a reroll.
So, or some of the other taskings are, we've still got the GDA ones, which is forward. So if you wanted to do a large enhanced move forward, you would attach 2 for ADCs. Skirmisher tasking, there's 2 aspects to that particular tasking. You can either put an ADC to firing, which enhances the skirmisher's firepower, or you can put an ADC to reinforce your skirmish line.
Right. I think I'm going to do that actually. I really want to try and slow you up here, so I'm going to put an ADC to reinforce the skirmish line, but I'm still having that re-roll there. So I've sucked up 5 of my 6 ADCs on just 2 brigades, but those are really important because I'm very aware that you outnumber me there, and I need to do some damage before you get
There's
in.
one thing I will point out at this stage, because you may not be under GDA 2, a light infantry battalion, such as Grenzers, French Léger, British light infantry, Fusiliers, etc. Now they can, as a free action, reinforce the screen with a further base, but they then drop to the next size down.
Right, so if that's a standard brigade, the battalion, it will become small?
It will become small.
Yeah.
So there's a tactical choice there. You can reinforce for free and not lose any of your battalions reinforcing, or you can say, no, I will actually lose a battalion and increase. Or you could, of course, just put your ADC into enhancing their firing rather than reinforcing.
I want to enhance their firing.
Yeah, okay, so we'll have the fire effect there. So that still leaves you one, and one of the others taskings which you mentioned before is scouts. Now, what Scouts does in the rules now is it enhances your chances of winning the initiative.
Right.
So when we roll for the initiative, playing Scouts, which represents the general scouting the battlefield and getting a grip of his brigadiers, will give you gives you a reroll.
Right.
So
well, I don't want that.
Okay,
I'm not bothered about that. So I'm actually just going to put my last one here, so I could have a reroll, so I don't go hesitant. Okay. So that's me, Dana. You've got a lot less of decisions to make because your abilities are trivial compared to mine.
So what my accent? I really wanted those to close in and get moving.
Yeah.
However, I also wanted my artillery to be on assault fire to counter yours, which is slightly annoying. So I can either take a risky choice. I can. So typical 1813 French. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 ADCs with Tyndall's brigade here on my right with the French artillery to assault fire.
Okay.
And I'm also going to give it the rear because I can't waste all 3.
Yeah.
Now what I'm banking on is that in turn 1 of every game the attacker can remove 1 hesitant marker for free because they're attacking.
Yeah.
So on turn 1, you can always remove 1, even if you go hesitant. So it gives the attacker that little bit of boost on turn 1. That's called battle orders, and we assume that on turn 1 you're probably a little bit more up for it than you would once.
And your plan is still relatively intact on turn 1.
Correct.
After that, things can go downhill a bit. Okay,
so
great.
we're all posted. So posting's done. What you'd normally do on postings is the person who lost the initiative in the previous turn would post their ADCs first.
Right.
Just to give it clear. But we don't need to do that here because it was just like a friendly game.
It is very friendly. Very friendly.
So, so now we do the command rolls. It's 1d6.
Start at the end?
Yeah.
Right, so I'll roll for my first one. I've rolled a 1, so they would be hesitant. But I've got that re-roll.
Yeah.
What do I need? 3, 4, 5,
exactly the same again. Yeah, go again.
I failed. So they become hesitant immediately. That's a disaster for me.
They've clearly seen the French.
Oh.
So we'll mark him up as hesitant.
Right, and these guys come off the table, straight back to
if your taskings,
the
taskings do not come into effect if you're hesitant.
Right, okay.
So even though you're only on about a 10% chance, you still managed it.
I managed it. Right, let's give these guys a bit. They're hesitant, but they have got a re-roll.
Try not to roll a 1.
There we go.
So they're not hesitant.
Oh,
I'm just so keen to
And these guys over here on
with
the
their
right,
skirmish tasking.
and they're not hesitant either.
So all you have to do with the skirmish tasking at this point is simply place the ADC, who was the skirmisher's fire tasking, with the unit that you are increasing the fire.
Great.
So the re-roll man wasn't needed, so you can go back.
Right.
So I now have the same. I might as well start on the right with artillery assault and the re-roll. So let's see if a Brigadier Tyndall can get a grip. And
he's fine. He's gripping it firmly.
Very firmly. Right. So I'll just put those there.
With the that we can see that the tasking is the guns.
Then we have Grabowski's Polish brigade. And he's off.
He's fine.
And then finally my important one under Bel Air that was taking a bit of a risk with not giving him any ADCs.
And they're hesitant. Whoa, nice.
Now that's just typical, but as we've already stated on turn 1, I'll be able to remove that, but we'll do at the end of the command phase.
Okay.
So what we'll do first is we'll do the initiative, because this does come into play to affect the initiative, but then I can remove it at the end.
Okay, so that affects your initiative.
Yes, so there is some disturbance in the force because he's not as keen as he should have been. Right, so initiative works with a very simple method. It's slightly different to GDA 1. Is that we start with a hand of 2d6.
Yep. There's mine.
Lovely. And for every hesitant that you have in your division, you add an extra dice.
So I've got one of them. So I add one, and so have you.
And consistent with charges and other systems, we'll be rolling the dice and taking the 2 lowest scores.
Right.
Now, if we'd have played Scouts, which I mentioned, that would enable you to re-roll one of your 2 lowest scores, but we haven't. So we both roll 3d6 and take the 2 lowest.
Gosh, 2 ones.
I like those red dice. So, well, look at that. That's a superb roll. So that'll be, I'm on 8.
Yeah, and I'm on 2. So I think you've won that.
Okay. There's two things now come into play. First of all, it's battle orders.
Yeah.
So I can remove one hesitant because I'm the attacker.
Yeah.
That comes off. Also, under the initiative, which was bound to come up later on, there's now an option called Steady the Buffs. If you win the initiative, you can remove one hesitant marker from a brigade, but you then surrender the initiative to the opponent.
You don't lose you don't lose. I would just go first in the phases where the player with the initiative goes first, and you would still go second. You're not.
No, the whole thing goes over.
Yeah.
So if you chose,
Yeah.
let's say you had won the initiative here, and you went, no, I'm going to play Steady the Buffs because I want to take that off.
Yeah.
You would remove that. The taskings are still not in play, but at least they're obeying orders.
Yeah.
And then the initiative for the whole turn is surrendered to me.
Yeah.
So then I become the phasing player, and you're the non-phasing player.
Understood.
But that's not happened here. So we're off, and I've got the initiative.
Okay.
That's the command initiative phase complete, and now we move straight into the charge phase. Now, it being turn one, it's clearly no one's in charge of each, so we just skip straight forward to the movement phase, because the French are the phasing player, they move first. So, I shall advance. Skirmishers will push up.
How far do they move?
They can go in 15s, they can go 20. So it's if you think of movement with 15mm troops as it's going up like a ladder. So squares move 5.
Yeah.
Lines move 10.
Yeah.
Columns move 15.
Yeah.
Skirmishers move 20.
Yeah.
Cavalry in line move 25, and cavalry in column move 30. So it's all, if you just think of the ladder, you'll remember it after a couple of turns.
That's clever. As a game designer, I really admire that. That is really clever. What a smart ass.
It's may not, it's one of those things, isn't it, where you're sacrificing a little bit of perhaps simulation, but it's just easier, isn't it, to remember it.
It's a really, really good game design mechanism. I'm very impressed by it.
Think of the ladder. That's what you've got to do. Yeah, the whole premise of one of the premises of GDA2 is to avoid reference to charts. Yeah. So a lot of it, I'm trying to make a lot of it much easier to recall. Yeah. So you can just, it should be hopefully a bit more intuitive. So you don't need to look things up. You can just do it.
Yeah, so that's the beauty of simple, clean game design, isn't it? People can focus on the command decisions rather than focusing on the rules.
Yeah, that's exactly it. There's, as you'll probably have noticed now, there's more emphasis on command. That is because firing movement charges are easier. So you save time there, which gives us a bit more time for those command decisions.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, and as you see, found over here, they can be important.
Yeah, they can be important. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So French on the right are moving up.
Yeah.
The Polish brigade, I'm going to sit there, and obviously this one, now you've put a skirmish tasking on there, which is slightly annoying for me.
Yeah,
but, well, he's under order. There's no point hanging back. I've got to get going. But what I am going to do, I think, to counter you, is I have a... Oh, do I put this light battalion into... I could increase it by a base to take you on, but I won't. I'm going to do something else. So, one of the things with light infantry, especially in the later period, is only elite and veteran light infantry can deploy into skirmish order when they're in open terrain. They've got the training and they've got the morale to do it. If you're grenadier or worse, you can either reinforce the screen, as we've discussed, so we can just feed people in, or we can deploy fully into skirmish if we're in rough terrain. So if we're in a wood, if we're in an orchard, etc., then because that cover gives them a bit of a morale boost, you can deploy your less well-trained troops into skirmish order. So I have that in mind. So I'm going to be moving the light infantry towards that wood. And I won't tell you what I'm doing, but I'll tell you. So I want to get into the wood, deploy into skirmish, and then flank his deployments.
Oh, I'm glad I didn't hear that.
You didn't. No, of course you didn't.
Horrific.
Okay, there we go, moving up. Bel Air takes position.
Right.
So there. So that's my movement done.
Okay.
You're obviously you were wanting to sit back and see where I came, so it's now your movement.
Right, good.
Well, there you go.
These guys are hesitant, so they can't move, but the skirmishers can.
Yeah, that's the one change for GDA2 is skirmishers, whether you're the brigade skirmish line or a deployed light infantry battalion. If you're hesitant, they have no restriction and they can still move.
Right. Could you pass me a tape measure, please?
Tape measure, certainly. Nice yellow one.
A nice
for you.
yellow one, please. Yeah, absolutely.
So it actually goes with the Habsburg flags.
It does, absolutely right. Good. Okay, and I can move 20 because I'm a skirmisher. But that still allows me to fire, doesn't it?
Yes, you can move and fire. Skirmishers have no detriment when they move and fire. Just don't walk in front of your battery if you want to fire with it. It'll be they'll get upset if cannonballs come flying through the ranks. There you go.
Right, you may hear a bit of noise in the background. Unfortunately, we've got the builders in today on Lard Island, but we're going to soldier on, as is appropriate for wargamers, because we really want to bring you this game as so you can see how the rules work before they are published. So there we go. I've moved forward with them.
Yep.
I can still fire my guns, but only straight ahead. That's right.
And up to effective range.
And up to effective range.
Yeah. So as you'll see there, which will allow you to hit the skirmish line. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Good. So I've got an issue here that I'm concerned about you. I'm not going to measure it. I'm just going to jiggle the skirmish line to face
fine.
you. We know that's in range, and. That's all I'm going to do there. I'm quite happy with where they are.
Okay, right. So that's done. So we've seen that's movement. It's fairly quick. We can just crack on with that, and then we'll move to firing. So firing, again, as mentioned in the previous videos, is now split into 3 sub-phases. We do skirmishes first, then we do artillery, and then we do infantry volleys. And that just simply reflects the amount of initiative each formation have. So skirmishers are assumed to have much more initiative than your close order volleys, who are basically your private soldiers waiting to be given the order to volley. Artillery, again, as they're independent units, they are firing under the command of their captains or their majors, and hence they go second. So the way skirmishers will work, and I'll describe this with dice just to make it a little bit easier, is every skirmish unit with your brigade skirmish line gets 1 dice just for the unit. You start with 1 dice. Then you add a dice for every base that's in the unit. So you have 4 bases in that unit.
So I need 5 dice.
5 dice. Yeah.
And what am I hitting on?
We're always across the board. Every casualty dice in GDA2 hits on 4+.
Okay, so 50-50 chance. So I've got 3 hits.
So 3 hits.
Your skirmish line.
Because these are skirmishers, they get a hit on 4+, but it's only half a hit because they're skirmishers. So if you've got 3, you'll do 1 casualty. So 2 hits equals 1 casualty. And as sorry to take this phrase from you, but there's nothing for a half in this game. So there are nothing for halves. So out of those 5 dice, you've simply done 1 casualty.
Okay.
So I'll just mark that up.
So you're going to mark that on the unit, and you can mark casualties using micro dice or dials or any particular means you want. And what do I need to do to take a base off the skirmish?
Right. So the only casualty removal, exactly the same as in GDA1, is the brigade skirmish line.
Right.
So each base, regardless of how many figures are on it, doesn't matter if it's 1, 2, or 3 figures, they can take 3 casualties. And then 1 is removed.
And then 1's removed. Right, okay.
So it basically attrits the skirmish line. And you can see it being reduced.
So we then go straight over the table to the other side there. Now I've got 4 guys. They get the 1 dice and then they add 1 per base. So that's 5 dice. But I've got an ADC there on the
skirmish. Skirmish fire tasking. Right, the skirmish fire tasking does 2 things. First of all, you gain an extra 2, and they're termed skirmish casualty dice, so that there's a little bit of difference between the normal ones because they're only doing halves. So you gain an extra 2 on top, so you'll be up to 7. And also, the only way skirmishers can inflict a discipline test on their target is when they're using this fire tasking. So if you get a double 6 from any of those dice, that's a discipline test.
Well, let's roll on this.
Let's roll.
David. And no double 6. I've got 6, 5, 5, 4, 2, 2, 1.
So 4 hits.
4 hits. It's 2 casualties.
2 casualties. So that's
so I
pretty
haven't taken the
effective.
base off, but it's a good start. It's a good start.
So the French skirmishers have leapt up and walked into some Grenzers who've clearly been around a bit in the border regions, if one can say that. So
I don't think you can, David, actually. I'm afraid it's 2024. I don't think we can say things like that anymore.
So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 bases, 1 for the unit. It's 5 dice return fire.
Right, okay.
And look at that. Oh, the French are up for it. But
So,
you'll see that I've rolled a double 6.
You have.
But because I'm not on a tasking, it doesn't mean anything.
benefit.
It's just casualty. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Half 2 hits.
2
so
hits,
2 hits back on Richard.
Okay, excellent. Well, phew. I think two hits is bad enough, but I didn't want a discipline test. So away we go using Dave's magic tokens. Really nice. So we can see there's 2 casualties on that unit.
Right. So that skirmish is done. So we're all done. And then we move to artillery.
Yeah.
So we have a battery apiece.
Yeah.
I have the initiative, so I'm going to be firing first. So I think if we measure the range, I'm at long range.
Yeah.
Now, long range allows a battery, a normal battery without a tasking, to do 2 things. It can either fire at the closest close order unit or the closest deployed battery.
Right.
So it can always, if it wishes, choose deployed artillery, but it's always got to fire at the closest one.
Okay.
However, because the battery is under assault fire tasking, which i.e. it's got the attention of the brigadier, priority target is ignored. So assault fire can choose your target.
You can choose what you like. So,
oddly enough, though, I will choose your battery.
I thought you might.
So this is how firing works. I'll do just the standard firing first, then I'll add the 2 casualty dice for the tasking at the end. So what you do is you simply apply positive and negative modifiers. So the positive modifiers will be I get 2 standard casualty dice because I'm an assault fire.
Yeah.
So those should always be a different colour to your normal dice. So if you want to pass me 2 of your red ones,
have some of these delicious red dice.
Thank you. I'll only need 2.
Right.
Take them all.
Right.
That's it. So the 2 dice will represent my casualty dice for the assault fire.
Right.
And the green dice are my normal standard artillery fire. I'll start with 2d6. However, I am applying a negative modifier because I'm firing at long range.
Okay.
So instead of looking at the standard line, I now drop down to the inferior volley line.
Okay. So
and that is it.
Yeah.
There's no other modifiers to think about.
Right.
You get one if you get 1 negative modifier, you drop to inferior volley or inferior fire. If you get 2 or more modifiers, you drop down to weak fire or volley. And weak fire or volley is simply a CD.
Right.
And those are the only negatives you can get.
Okay, great. So that keeps it very intuitive.
Yeah, so you come out. So I'll just roll all the dice together and then we'll see what we get.
Okay.
So the 2 casualty dice.
A 1 and a 2.
A 1 and a 2.
It doesn't look like a great result.
Yeah, I think I might have missed. And a 6.
Yeah.
The combined dice on the normal roll is a 6. And I can tell you that on the inferior line for battery fire is you need 7 or more to get a casualty.
Okay.
If I've got 10, I'd have got 2 casualties in the discipline test. Right. So basically the French have opened fire, lots of hurried volleys and missed the target completely.
Right.
So that ends my battery fire and we simply go over to yours.
Right, now I'm not on a tasking, my brigade is hesitant.
Yeah.
How does that affect what options I have?
So your options are firing exactly as GDA 1 is straight ahead up to effective range.
Yeah.
And you no long range fire, so and you've got to go straight down the tram.
And what is effective range?
So in this 15 mil, it'll be 40 centimetres.
Right, so what can I hit?
It's literally, those are behind that little dip, which is very sensible deployment. So it's only the skirmish line.
Just the skirmish line, which doesn't sound great to me. So do I roll 2 dice?
So you'll roll exactly as I did,
yeah.
But because you're firing at skirmishers,
yeah.
you apply a negative modifier,
right.
which takes you from the standard fire line down to the inferior fire line.
Fire.
So it's just 2d6.
2d6, yeah. I've rolled 9, which we know is one hit.
Yeah, so you've inflicted maybe a bit of long-range canister came in there and upset a Voltigeur.
Okay, good. Well, there you go.
That's it.
First blood to my guns.
Over there, mine were a bit poor.
It was surely.
So that, we know there's now no volley fire, because we're not in range.
We're not.
There's going to be no combat. We've had no charges. So that's it for turn 1.
Right.
So all we do at the end is we do do a bit of personal admin, and that is remove the Heston markers.
Yeah, take that off.
And I've already done mine with battle orders.
And we take off our ADCs.
ADCs
well.
return to their...
You've done it as you used them, because you know the rules, I don't.
So their respective positions.
Now, one thing I was going to ask you, Dave, is where are our Commander-in-Chiefs and how does their position on the table influence the game?
Right. So, Commander-in-Chiefs can literally sit anywhere you like. Their positioning matters not. Just put them where it's convenient to do so. When they play a C&C command tasking, they have unlimited movement, so we don't need to worry about where he is. If you assume that Marshal Ney or whoever, the Archduke Charles or whoever, when they want to gallop to somewhere on the battlefield, they're going to get there pretty quickly. Yeah. So when we play a C&C tasking, or command tasking, he will just simply move to the brigade. So it's irrelevant where you put him. Just put him where it's either convenient or looks good.
Or looks good, which is what I've done here. Put him on this rise. So that's brilliant. Okay, fabulous. Right, so next turn, do we roll for our ADCs first? It's basically
just repeat the process.
Right.
So ADCs.
We just roll simultaneously.
Doesn't
matter. Okay, so I've rolled 5. Now I've rolled 2 1s, which is a bit rubbish, but I've rolled 2 6s. So I get an extra one. But I lose 2. So I've rolled 3 successful rolls. 2 of them are 6s, so I get 4 in this turn. Wow, I've learned the rules.
And it's not just one double 6; it's any double 6.
Yeah. So if I got 4 double 6s, I get 2 extras.
Yeah, absolutely. So I roll 1. Well, that's not too bad. I've got a 2, 3. Oddly enough, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I get 4 ADCs available for use this turn. So I've lost one. Where is he? Here he is. Put him back there. So the following the initiative. So it is the player who lost the initiative last turn places their ADCs first. Now this is just a convention. You don't have to. If you want to house rule it, by all means do. But it's just a way of getting the process going.
Now, would I normally announce to you what my taskings are?
No,
that's what
although you might be placing first, you do not announce. There are 2 ways you can do it. If you want to use the markers to indicate what your tasking is, maybe with some dummies in there to confuse the enemy, you can do that. Or one convention, which is a quick and straightforward way, is to simply announce what the tasking is when you're rolling the command dice. So if you were to roll, you'll say, I have 1 ADC, it's a brigade attachment, then the opponent knows. Obviously that relies on some honesty. So we won't be doing it in this game.
No. That would be very, very foolish to think I wasn't going to tell.
But if you're comfortable with your opponent, you trust each other, it's just announce as you go down the line. So,
right, okay, well, this is horrible because I can influence what's happening, but I can't influence it as much as I'd like. Last turn, I realised now I was spoiled with the Ferrero Rocher of battle.
6 ADCs,
I'm going to have to put 3 there, and I'm just going to put 1 there.
Right, that's interesting.
Yeah,
You're right. So, again, this is what this system's designed to do, isn't it? You've got limited command choices, and it's the question of where do I place my command effort in each turn.
Yeah.
Now, if you've got a plan, that should help you to find where you put your ADCs. But hey, we're wargamers, and I know what happens.
I never bothered with the plan, actually. And the plan that I never bothered with has already gone wrong.
So I'm going to place 2 over there with my punch-through brigade.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to bother with an artillery assault again. I could do a risky 2 for artillery assault, but no re-roll. But
that's the risk, isn't it? That's the risk. I could have put 2 over there and 2 over there, but without the re-roll, one of them could very easily.
Yeah, so it's it depends how desperate I suppose you are. So I'm going to
desperate.
I'm going to put 2 there and 2 there. Right. So we're posted.
So you're taking it, right, okay.
So I'm done. So it's now command rolls. You might as well go first, and we'll just go down the line.
So I'll go down the line. So let's roll here. They're fine. That was just a re-roll. So I don't need it. So he goes back in the pot.
Lovely.
Let's go in the centre. 1, they're hesitant. I'll put a hesitant marker out. I didn't put a re-roll with them.
Yeah.
Now these guys, what are they? They've rolled a 1, but they do have a re-roll. So I'll spend that and roll another dice. Phew! Phew! And their taskings to the skirmish line. I didn't need 2 of them, did I?
No, you didn't. I'll tell you what then, just because it's a demonstration game.
Yeah. We'll smash that.
If you've got a spare ADC, is place him to scouting.
Yeah, okay, I'll put him in scouting.
So
good call.
Put him next to the CNC, and he's scouting. So that gives you a benefit when it comes to the initiative.
That's very generous of you, thank you.
Yeah, I will be getting that back later.
I messed that one up, right. Okay.
So I'll go down mine. Yeah. So I have a reroll and a skirmish fire task. I want to drive in your skirmish line.
Cheeky chappy.
Yeah. I've got a 1.
The re-roll.
I need the re-roll. Come on, Tyndall. Brigadier General Tyndall.
Oh, there we go.
So I'll leave that with the skirmish line. It's just to indicate to me what's happening.
Yeah.
The poles are on their own.
Yeah.
And we'll say that's a 1. So
we won't say it's a 1.
Well,
it was a 1.
It could have been cocktail. I don't know what the conventions are at Lard Island.
Well, whatever benefits
it's a 1.
me.
Yes. So here, exactly the same.
Yeah.
Reroll and skirmish fire tasking. Drive your skirmish line in. We're up.
So you didn't need the reroll, so you get the skirmish. Right, brilliant. Okay. So now we need to see about initiative. We both got 1 hesitant brigade.
Yeah.
You don't get the benefit that you had in the first turn.
No, that's now battle orders. Advantage is now gone.
So really, it's
3 dice apiece.
3 dice apiece.
Because we've got 1 hesitant, adds the extra dice, and we just take the 2 lowest.
All right, 7.
Hold those there. So that's good for you in a way. So my 2 lowest are 6. Now, what the scouts could have done, let's just say you were losing at that point. A scouts allows you to re-roll one of those 2 final dice.
Right. Nice.
So if I had been winning, you could have re-rolled the 1 and snatched it. But as it happens, you've won anyway. You need to.
Superior.
Superior. Genius. So you've now got that choice, having won the initiative, to play steady the buffs, which is remove the hesitant.
No, bugger that.
And surrender it to me, you don't need to there.
That was a technical wargame turn. Sorry, if you're watching with small children. Right, okay.
So you've got the initiative. You're the phasing player.
Yeah.
So
movement
charges.
Probably
not. Yeah.
No, I'm not charging you.
Same process as last time. Skirmishers don't charge other skirmishers. If you want to drive in the skirmish line, it's the skirmish fire tasking, or put in more men into the skirmish line, and you do it with firepower. So no skirmishers from either side. So yes, you're straight into movement.
No charges. Right. Okay. Now what I want to do here is start moving these guys into this position here, and actually moving these guys backwards.
Retreating.
Now, I'm actually going to get them out of the way because I'm not very happy about what's coming at me. So how do I actually do that?
So it's if you are moving forwards, you just use your standard movement rate. If you are moving backwards, sideways, then all you do is you simply move at half speed for that movement rate. Right. So if you want to go sideways, you can either just go 7.5, which is obviously half of 15, or you could wheel. Inside base remains stationary, and the outside base wheels around, as we've all seen the trooping to colour.
As it is, we're pretty close to where we want to get to, so we might as well just move them sideways. What about these guys?
Exactly the same. If you want to step back or go sideways, it's just half speed.
They're going to move in that direction there.
He's falling back before me.
We're repositioning, I like to think. And these guys can stay there and hold the line there.
All right.
So that's their movement. I'm not actually moving over here. I'm definitely not moving over here because I'm hesitant.
Yes.
So that's all my movement done. So it's down to you, Mr. Brown.
Lovely. Okay, so the closest units can come to each other in a 15mm game is 5 centimetres. That's your basically danger close. So I'll move up as far as I can go and just make sure I keep my columns screened immediately behind the line.
Okay.
Now, my light infantry battalion is going to enter the woods, and a close order battalion has 2 options in rough terrain such as woods, streams, etc. I can either go at half speed and I have no effect, I just adopt the slower rate, or I can go at full speed, but I will take a casualty to represent wear and tear and disruption in the ranks. I'm going to go full speed because I want to push this quickly. So I'm going to go full speed and push myself to that far side of the woods, but I will inherit a casualty in doing so. That's there. So that's the movement done for that brigade. The Poles, although they are hesitant, can still move their skirmish line. So I am going to start pushing forward here just to tickle you up a little bit. So we're going to push forward there. That remains hesitant. And here, the skirmish line is going to move up because it's on the tasking to engage your skirmishers. And the columns, I'm just going to hide behind this dip.
Right, so they're avoiding that gunfire.
Yeah, these are just going to cautiously advance. Right. So, as far as the speed of an advance goes, at the end of the day, the brigade is commanded by a brigadier general. And although he might be under orders from the CNC, who's also a general, although maybe one slightly higher rank, a brigadier general decides how quickly his brigade will move. I'm sure some of you might have even had dealings with generals, regardless of their rank. They're not people who take orders from other people they're not keen. So basically our brigadiers do what they want with their brigades. So I can advance quickly, I can advance slowly, but they're doing it.
Fine.
Okay, so that is movement done.
Right, so
we go straight to firing. So you have the initiative, so your skirmishers fire first.
Right, I'm going to go over here. Now I've got 4 bases, so I get 1 dice for free, and then I get 1 dice per base, so that's 5 dice. I'm not on any tasking, so I just roll those. I'll roll on this dice tray here.
Lovely dice tray.
And lovely dice tray. Just 2 hits, so that's
2
1
hits,
casualty.
1 casualty. But that has taken me to 3. So I'll remove a base.
So I'm chipping away there. So that's
reducing my screen.
Now over here, I've got 4 bases again, so as we know, that's 5 dice, but I'm on a tasking, so I get an additional 2.
2,
So that puts me up to 7 dice.
And any double 6.
And any double 6 is a Brucey bonus. Right, okay.
Oh.
Now I've got 3 6s, and I've got 2 5s and a brace of 2s. So I've got 5 hits plus, 5 hits on the dice.
Including a double 6.
Including a double 6.
So 5 hits, there's no for the half, so it's going to be 2. Nonetheless, that's still a base off and 1 over. So that's, God, these guys must have.
So was that 3 hits in total?
It's 2. The double 6 gives you the discipline test.
Oh, it gives you a discipline test. Right, okay. I knew it did something, I wasn't sure.
All discipline tests are taken immediately. And for ease of play, all brigade skirmish lines have a discipline test rating of 7.
Okay.
So I need to score on the 2d6 7 or more.
Right. Well, away, David. Let's see.
Which I will, and we've got 7. So I'm okay. If I'd failed, I would have gone unformed and lost another casualty as its skirmishers. So your fire there was particularly powerful.
Good, that's what I like to hear. Right, we're going to move that to the back there. So we've used that tasking
very effectively as well. So firing back. So I am now reduced to 1 for the unit and only 3 bases remaining.
Right.
So 4.
So it's done some damage.
But I do have the tasking as well.
Right, important point to make there. You had 4 bases at the start of the turn, but because I fired first, that 4 bases doesn't count.
Correct.
You're just firing what you have when it's your phase.
Exactly. So that also highlights the importance of the initiative.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because what you've done is you've dulled this potential fire that's coming back at you by removing a base.
Which is significant.
Yeah.
Right. So still you've got 6 dice.
6 dice. So we never know what
impressive
we might
enough. Yeah.
and
So 3 sixes. So
3
I'll have a discipline test.
Yeah.
But actually, you've only got 3 hits, so
3
that's just one
just
casualty.
But
But that does
still
tip
a
me to
base.
3.
Yeah, so it's a
I
base
take that
off.
off, and a base goes. So
And a discipline test for
put
the
that over there.
double 6. So again, you're exactly the
7. I
same.
need
7
7
or more.
Now
Right.
I've got 8.
It
Hooray!
passed. Okay, so no effect.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah, but yes, it's obviously heating up there in the skirmish
It
lines.
really is, isn't it? Which is what you'd expect because you're pushing hard.
Yeah,
Right.
and over here I'm doing exactly the same.
You are.
That was a larger screen, and one of the reasons I had a bigger screen from this brigade is I've got 2 light infantry battalions in it, which means I gain an extra base at the start to represent I have more lights.
Okay.
So I start with the 5 dice for the basic screen.
So 4 bases
plus 1 for the unit, yeah. And then I get the 2 extra for the skirmish task.
Yeah, right.
And attempt to do some serious damage on you.
Okay, well, you haven't done that serious, but you have got 4 hits, which is 2.
2 casualties, no double 6 this
so
time.
nothing there, so I'll just put that there to indicate 2 casualties.
We're
Well, got away with that a bit, I feel.
Yeah, it's not too. Yeah, you did. That's where you've done because you've got the initiative. It's important.
Okay, artillery.
Right. So artillery. Your artillery first.
Now I'm not hesitant now, but I do have to fire at the closest unit.
Right. So this is where it's slightly different if you are at effective range.
Yeah.
So you might want to move your brigadier. Probably get upset.
Yeah. His tinnitus isn't improved.
He's
by
already
standing
had that.
there. Yeah.
Right. My columns have now moved up to effective range,
Right.
as obviously my skirmishes are at effective range. At effective range, a battery can choose its target.
Okay. Well, I'm going to fire at that big fat column in the middle.
This one in the middle? So, we start with standard fire.
Yeah. 2 dice.
Are there any negatives?
I don't think so. I'm at effective range, which is kind of ordinary, so no negatives.
No negatives.
I'm firing a column, which is kind of ordinary.
Dense formation. Once you're at effective range, you gain a casualty dice.
Yeah.
Because you're firing at a dense
formation. Right. Yeah. Okay, so let's roll the dice and see what we get. So on my 2 red dice, I get 6.
Which are effective range for a battery is 1.
Right, and I've rolled a 6.
4+ on a casualty dice.
So that's 2.
So that's actually pretty good.
Right,
fire.
so we got the 2 dice is what our normal fire is based on, but any enhancements you get extra casualty dice, and they're really a 50-50 chance.
Yeah,
so
correct for each one.
Yeah,
okay.
I like that. That's
right. So I'm going to be firing back with my guns.
Thought you might.
Are
they on the tasking?
No, there's no tasking. No. They're part of this French brigade, so they're okay to choose who I can either fire closest. That one,
or the battery,
or that one. But I'm going to fire at the battery because obviously your battery's doing some damage.
Yeah.
I have 1 fire modifier, negative fire modifier, because we're firing at long range.
Yeah.
And a 9 is 1 casualty. So I'll get a lovely casualty marker.
Please, David, from the lovely casualty marker box. Right, and that's 1 casualty on my battery, which I'll put there.
What players may notice, there's now no negative modifier for firing at deployed artillery.
Okay.
This is for a couple of reasons. First of all, it encourages players to deploy their guns historically. If you deploy artillery close up to the enemy, such as Cernemont did at Friedland, you're going to take very heavy casualties. Secondly, although guns might be spaced out slightly, all the gunners are standing around their guns, and most of them standing to attention, and all the limbers and the caissons are all behind them. So, though there might be a space target, they are smaller, they have a smaller complement than battalions, they will still take damage.
Okay.
So it's doing 2 things. It's I'm still having a negative because of long range. So I'm still being dragged down, but it encourages you to put your batteries probably where they did historically, which is not right up in front of the enemy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so that's artillery done.
Right.
So
that's a very gentle way of criticising my deployment. Right, good. Right.
No, that's fine. You'll get there. So is there any volley fire?
No.
There's no volley fire. There's no combat. Turn 2 done. So as you see,
hesitant markers off. ADC's all back in the ADC pot. And then we roll for ADCs again. So
as you can see, we're kind of like
clipping along, aren't we?
whizzing through. Yeah.
So I've actually got 4 ADCs. but I've rolled a double 6. I've rolled 2 6s, 2 4s, and a 2.
Good.
So I get the full complement of 5.
Back to 5.
I lost 1, but I gained 1.
And I've rolled 3 3 4 5 6. So no 1s and 2s. So I've also got the full complement of 5.
Yeah, congratulations, David.
Thank you very much,
Good
sir.
to see. Good to see. Right, so what am I going to do here?
I lost the initiative last turn, so I placed first. So you can see
first.
where my emphasis is going to go. Even though you don't know what the tasking is going to be, you'll get a hint as to what it is going to be. So, this is, I could, do I bring on my reserves straight away, make life difficult for you? Is it time for a CNC command tasking? Which the answer is not yet. So I'm going to put 2 there. I'm going to put, and I'm going to put 3
over there on
with
the right.
Kendall.
So, right.
Oh, hang on, no, I'm having second thoughts. This is really annoying. Okay, no, I'm done. That's it.
Right.
Stick with the plan. Stick with the plan.
Decisions. Yeah. Right. Having seen that you're obviously pushing hard over there, I reckon that's your artillery tasking. My skirmish line is still intact there.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to put a couple over there.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep one over here with the Commander in Chief.
Oh, I know what that'll be for.
Yeah. I'm going to put one over here and another one over there. So I'm putting 2 on my right, 2 on my left. Yeah. And that's it. So now we're rolling for initiative.
Yeah. So now I think I know what that one at the rear will be, and I'm thinking to myself, maybe I should have played that to get a grip of the battle and to drag it.
So
back.
I've obviously the one with my general is a scout tasking because I really want to win the initiative. I really want to shoot first here before he pushes through.
Me down. So 1 D6 down the line for
down
each
the
command
line.
roll.
Yeah, right, so let's go here. 2, but I've got a reroll.
Yeah.
4, so they're okay.
Yeah.
Right, in the centre. They're hesitant.
He's always hesitant. Holzendorf.
Yeah. And over here, 6, they're fine.
Yeah.
So the rerolls, I'm putting them back.
Yeah, they don't need.
Whether they're used or not.
And
right.
that tasking,
that's
skirmish by any chance?
That is a skirmish.
Yeah, just stick it with the skirmish.
Yeah.
There we go.
Put that with the skirmishes, and also here.
Yeah.
2 skirmish tasking.
Right, so this, correctly, I initially thought I might go for no reroll, have skirmishers, artillery assault, but I didn't risk that. It's artillery assault and a reroll.
Right.
And we've got it. So I'll put the 2 ADCs back with the guns, and these poor old skirmishers are just going to have to deal with it.
Yeah.
The pole's in the centre. All right. And that is exactly the same as you. It's a reroll and a skirmish task and try and drive you off.
Yeah.
So there we go.
There we go.
So we are done. That's our time. So it's initiative.
Yeah. So we both roll 2d6.
But you roll 3 because you've got 1 hesitant.
Oh dear.
Now this will show how scouts is useful.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
so I've
that's
actually
a very
rolled
good
really well. I've rolled 8.
So you've rolled 4, 4 and a 5. So your 2 lowest at 8.
Yeah.
You could just win it.
No.
Right. Well, I've rolled 10.
Gosh.
So because you've played scouts, you're allowed to re-roll one of those 2 dice.
So I need a 6 to even draw. If I draw, I'll have the initiative because I had it last time.
Well, you probably actually won't because it's French against Austrian. But just do it anyway. So you failed anyway. So that's too good.
Frustrating.
So the good old French division, I don't know who it is, Bertrand or someone will.
Plastic Bertrand.
To his mates. Yes, exactly. So the French have seized the initiative. That is fantastic. There's no hesitance, so I don't need to consider steady the buffs, and we're off. So it is charges.
I wouldn't actually use the word fantastic as you did there. Actually, that's slightly frustrating. But yeah, now I can see why that is so. Ooh.
I'm not quite in charge reach there, so but I'm going to carry with the plan. So one could, if I wish to, charge my columns through. I could basically charge your line and just drive it in with my columns, but I don't want to waste the tasking, and I don't want to put my columns right there in front of your line. So there's no charges from me. So
okay, and there's no charges from me.
So movement. So
where you go, Dave.
Right, that column's going to drop back.
Ooh.
And I'm going to form a line here.
Ooh.
Because I don't want to keep taking casualties.
Okay.
I'm on the nasty 2. Skirmishers will stay put. And the light infantry will just shuffle over to a nice new assault position.
Okay.
Okay. Right, so that's moved there. The poles, right, it's time I think to apply pressure along the line. So the poles will move out. Move to there. And right, so what I'm going to do with this brigade is I'm going to keep those there, push that one up a little bit, and I'm going to deploy these guys into skirmish order.
Okay.
So how you deploy into skirmish order is you can use any convention you like, but generally what we do is just spread the bases out and place the command base to the rear.
So it looks like a battalion rallying point.
Yeah, exactly. So you've got half the battalion back, half out, or whichever way you want to do it. So I'm going to line the edge of the wood.
And how many bases does that count as?
So a light infantry battalion, when it's spread out into skirmishing, it gets 5 skirmish casualty dice. And a garrison that also fires as skirmishers, and they will also get 5 casualty dice. And it will just be modified by again cover, casualties, etc. So that's my movement done. So over to you.
Right. Okay. Well, these guys are going to move into here.
Okay.
But they will become disordered for the first turn.
Yes.
Is it disordered?
So they are unformed for their first turn.
Yeah. Because they're taking up positions in there.
So move around
there like that.
I mean, there are, you can either use markers to denote unformed, or you can just put the rear bases in a slightly disorganised shape.
Okay. These guys are moving here, and these guys. How do they wheel?
Inside man stands still. If that were inside,
and they move half speed.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's wheeling backwards.
Right, there we are. And I'll put my brigadier over here. Now I can move my skirmishers a bit, can't I?
Yeah.
But they can still shoot because they're in range. Yeah. There we go. So we'll do that. We're just
stepping back, falling back. I've bent the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And any other movement? No other movement.
Okay.
Right.
So movement done. Straight back into skirmish fire.
Yeah.
So
you're
start over there
first, which is frustrating because they're on 2 casualties.
I know.
So one hit is going to reduce that.
So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 bases. So that gives me 5 dice.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to need another. Give me that. Pass that green dice back over, and I'll be at full complement. Thank you.
Are you on a task in there?
Yes, they. No, they weren't. Sorry.
No, they're not.
I'm looking at the wrong one.
No.
I'll put
cheating.
those 2. I'm trying hard. Yes. I'll see if you notice. So these guys here, back to 5 after the attempt at Maskarovka. But we've done very well anyway.
4 hits.
So 4 hits, which
2.
translates to 2 casualties.
So base off, and actually that'll tip them over. They'll still have a 1 there.
Okay, so that's good. I think we're out of range here.
Yeah.
And here, I've got 1, 2, 3 bases, that's 4 dice.
And the tasking.
Now I've got the tasking, the 2 extras, that's 6.
Right.
And looking for a double 6, which I don't get. I do get
you've got 4 hits.
Another, 4 hits, another 2 casualties.
Right.
So I'll get you a.
You're
going to need.
I think I might need a wheelbarrow full of these casualties.
So this I'm driving in.
A minute.
And of course, my light battalion also gets 5 dice.
Right.
So it gets 5 dice because it's now the way the range skirmishers are basically an arc of fire of 90 degrees. We assume they are moving around, they're not static, they're moving around, obtaining the best fire positions. I'm all in range here, and the skirmishers work very simply. If you have 50% or more of your skirmishers in range, they all fire. Because they're all assumed to be moving forwards and backwards all the time. So we've got 5 dice from the edge of the woods from my Leger.
This is worrying me.
Lots of 1s and 2s, but we've still got another hit.
Yeah, and that's enough to take a base off.
Right, so we've now arrived at an interesting point for a skirmish line. So when a brigade skirmish line is reduced to 2 bases, what will happen if the brigade goes hesitant in future turns is that brigade line will be called back by its brigadier because they're exhausted, they're out of ammo, whatever, and it's removed from play. It doesn't count as a dispersal, doesn't impact you morale wise, it just means your skirmish line's been driven in and defeated. So once you go to 2, there are options for the player. Either do I reinforce my line, put more men into it, so I want go back and win the combat, or do I accept the fact I've probably now lost this skirmish combat and pull them out?
In that situation, I could reinforce that, especially as I've got a line.
You've got Grinzers.
But I'm not going to win that against the combined firepower of those two units. So that tasking is just evaporated.
No, it's still there for this one, but next turn, your things are going to get awkward.
Good. Well, okay, because I've got 3 dice from there.
Yeah, add 2 for the tasking.
2 for the tasking.
Yeah, they're still there for the moment.
Okay, well they've just got 2 5s.
One hit.
Just one.
Yeah, so
not great. They're definitely.
So I'm winning the skirmish, driving in your skirmish line there, which is part of the plan, isn't it, to push forward. So this is one of the things that will be playing on our minds is when do we push onto the table our reserves?
Yeah.
Now Richard's obviously, because of his inferior deployment, he might be thinking, God, I need to stop this.
Yeah.
And I'm obviously thinking about when is the time to bring on my reserve to effect a breakthrough.
Yeah.
And what you can use to bring on reserves in a speedy and orderly manner is through the use of a CNC command, which you will see later.
Yeah.
Okay. So, new turn. So, no, sorry, that was skirmish file, wasn't it? Do apologise.
So artillery.
Carried away.
So it should be. Right, okay. So
artillery.
You go first.
So, having won the initiative, right, now we're on assault fire, back on assault fire.
Yeah.
So, one of the differences from GDA 2 to 1 is now only 1 battery can be on assault fire per turn. There are separate rules for core artillery reserves, i.e. mass batteries, but those are only for core battles. In your standard divisional battery, 1 artillery assault tasking permits you to put 1 battery on assault fire. So I will engage your guns. So that's I wish it was the other way around. So the 7 on the normal inferior volley line, as we know, 7 or more gives us 1 casualty. But the assault fire has given me 2 more, so it's 3 casualties.
So what does that take off? Anything? Or
Up
just
to 4.
3 casualties?
You
up to 4. Yeah.
So the significance of 4 is that you are considered now to be worn enough that you cannot do assault fire unless you use one of your caissons. Once a battery becomes worn, you can only assault fire if you drag up more guns and more ammunition to replenish the battery.
Okay, there's a tide going against me here.
So now it's over to your guns.
Right. Well, they've got no tasking. They're not firing at a column, so we don't get any extra dice. So it's literally just 2 dice.
Yeah. And
we
it's
roll
effective
for that,
range.
and they roll 6.
It's still 1 because we're effective. It's still 1.
Okay.
So I might need to just get these guys into some or attack one or the other.
And that's the end of my shooting.
Yeah. There's no there's no infantry volleys.
No.
Because that's it. So hesitance, remove hesitance back into the pool. All your ADCs come back.
Nasty.
And 1 for you. 1 for me.
Thank you.
And we just roll the 5 dice and crack on. I don't even remember what turn it is at that turn.
No. Right, okay, well, I have not rolled well there. I've rolled 2 1s, 2 5s and a 3. So I get 3 ADCs, which is bloody awful.
Right, so I've rolled 5 5, 3 3 and a 2, so I get 4. Now 1, it's perhaps pertinent to describe one of the CNC command taskings at this point. One of them, if you wanted to throw, remember, bearing in mind Richard only has 1, is called Chief of Staff. Now what a Chief of Staff CNC command allows you to do is it allows you to re-roll every missed ADC availability dice, and it adds 2 extras on top. So if you had a terrible turn where you were really keen to get lots of things going, you could use Chief of Staff. Or if you just wanted to think, right, this is the breakthrough, this is the time, I need artillery assault, I need skirmishers, I need infantry assault, I'm going to play Chief of Staff. So that gives you the opportunity to have a significant number of extra ADCs to push down in the command phase. But again, it's that command decision. Do you use it then, or do you save it for perhaps a different tasking later on? So there's an option there, Richard, for you. If you don't think it's the right moment to do that, so you just basically say, no, I'm not using a CNC command at this point. I just want to bring on my reserves. So it's to bring on the reserves. It's just if you want to bring on your reserves, it's a tasking that requires 1 ADC, but again, the reroll might be advantageous. So
yeah, I think I'm going to have to take that option now. So I'm playing my Commander-in-Chief order. I've only got one of them, but I think if I don't stop the rot now, I'm in real trouble.
Okay.
It's far too early.
Yes, far too early. I forced it.
You forced my hand.
So,
right, so
you had 3, so you're allowed to re-roll the other 2.
Yeah.
And they all come back, and you get 2 extra.
And that's, I'm up to 5 at the moment.
And you don't need to roll them; they're automatic.
Oh, 2! Thank goodness, because I rolled 2 ones.
Right. No, you don't need. It's automatic. So you're 7. Up to 7, and the CNC moves out to take command of one brigade of your choice. The brigade he takes command of has no command reroll; it'll be automatic. So you want to put him with the most important one when you're playing Chief of Staff.
What happens to those skirmishes? I've got 2 bases there.
If you go hesitant, they will be recalled. There are no negative effects, they're just removed from play. Or you can just, if they stay in play, you can just pull them back in the movement phase. So now you've got...
Well, I think this is going to have to happen here. So the CNC has moved over to this point.
Right, so they have, we know they're under command. That still leaves you with 7 ADCs.
Yeah, well, I'm going
to
put
post wherever you
2 there and a 3rd one.
Yeah.
So that's 3.
Yeah.
I'm going to put
do you want to
one here.
Do you want to bring on your reserves this turn?
Yes,
I
do.
Turn? So I would put 1 ADC for reserves and 1 ADC for a reroll to make sure that the Brigadier understands what you want from him.
Done.
Okay. Right, I've put all 4.
Hold on. 3.
Here.
4. 5, 6. I've got one more.
You've got one more.
I've got one more. Trying to rob me again.
Well,
I'll have a just
You've got that one, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
6, 7.
6, 7, yes. Yeah. So you'll... So there you can see the benefit that a Chief of Staff CNC command tasking gives you. That's, you get more ADCs you know what to do with. Okay, so we do our command rolls down the line.
Yeah.
So he doesn't need to roll.
No, right.
He's under command. So
that's I'll take
done.
that 4 and
take
give it
that
to
4.
them.
Yeah, that's fine.
But so they're re-roll. Sorry, that wasn't a re-roll. Oh. That's a skirmish tasking.
Oh, yeah. Right, there we go.
And these guys here are 1, but they do have a re-roll.
And
they've made it. Right.
Okay. And then the reserves, you need to roll for the reserve brigade to come on.
Right, it's a 2, but
you've got the re-roll. And the Brigadier finally understands where he comes on. Okay.
It's my terrible French, obviously. Oh no, I'm German. I'm good at German. Yeah. Right.
So, right, what I have with this brigade, I have 4 ADCs.
Yeah.
And what I've ordered infantry assault.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take the bull by the horns here, which cost me 1 ADC.
Yeah.
In GDA 2, infantry assault only lasts for 1 turn. But it does allow me to charge with 1 battalion and the supports that it can have, so either left, right, or to the rear. And also, I've ordered forwards here, so 2 ADCs for forwards. So I've got brigade attachment reroll, infantry assault, and forwards. And one of the things that forwards does in GDA 2, it gives you both charges and movement a significant increase. So take the reroll. I don't need it. So this Belair's brigade is under command.
Yeah.
Now roll for Grabowski's poles. he knows what he's doing. So he's gone hesitant.
Yeah.
And then finally Brigadier Tyndall over on the right. He's also hesitant.
No, right.
Okay, that's because I put all my command effort in one place.
But
so
that's a right result.
It is for you.
Yeah.
So now we do initiative. As we know, we start with 2 dice. Now you've got no hesitant, so you're just a straight
2 dice.
2 dice. I've got 2 hesitants. That adds another 2 to my. So I'm on 4 dice.
You take the worst.
Take the 2 worst.
But I've only rolled 5.
You're on 5.
So you could do it.
I might get lucky.
2 and a 5.
5.
But
what's good about this for the French is the French snatch draws against Austrian, Russian, other armies. I.e., their officers are generally much more up the front, pushing their troops. So I've snatched the draw. So I now do have a steady the buffs option. I could remove this and give the initiative to you.
Yeah.
Oh, do I want to do that then?
That's an interesting choice, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So I want those to move, but I also want to get this. I want to get your skirmish screens out of the way and drive them in.
Yeah.
Do I just take the hit? Too hesitant. It's terrible. Should be a time limit to this decision. So.
Well, I think that's based on people's attention spans. Many people will be switching off as soon as they see you.
I know. Well, it's common reaction. No. Oh God. No. I'm going to keep the initiative and keep two hesitants.
I can see the attraction, but I think you should focus on the main game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and
focus
that's where
it's
it is.
happening.
Yeah.
So, there we go. So, charges. I've got one.
Yeah.
And this is where we see the difference with the forwards command.
Yeah.
So, forwards now is different. So, I can go my base move for a column, which is 15.
Yeah.
The forwards tasking now automatically gives you an extra 10 and a 2d6 on top. So I'm going 25 plus the 2d6 roll, which is another 8, which is 35, 33. And 33 easily puts me in range. So you can see how powerful a forwards can be.
Yeah.
I've pushed everything into this one brigade.
Yeah.
I'm going to come straight
and you
through.
sweep my skirmish.
They do shoot first before, because if it were cavalry,
Yeah.
the skirmishers would just break and go back. But against infantry can shoot. So you might as well do your 3 dice.
Yeah, I will do. What
No
an
hits.
abysmal roll.
Now they are just fall back, and you can put them anywhere behind the lead unit.
I think I'll throw them in the bin, actually.
They were overwhelmed. So we'll just move the tree.
Is that in the rules? Moving trees?
Moving trees. You can only move a single tree. So I'm going to lead with this unit.
Right.
Now I haven't played Glory because I didn't have enough ADCs.
Right.
So we're just taking the bull by the horns. Infantry assault allows up to a number of supports to go in. Obviously I've got a left and a right.
Yeah.
And the supports just take as much movement as they need to keep up with that lead unit.
So in this attack you have one lead unit and the other 2 are
supporting. Yes.
Right.
And what that does, it's I indicate the target of the charge, which clearly is your Austrian line here. Yeah. And your anything that's within 5 supporting distance, because you're the defender, is automatically dragged in. Yeah. Doesn't have a choice to remain outside. You've got to fight because it's all coming on top. Yeah. So the way a charge is resolved is I move to the 5 centimetre point as we've done. And this is the same as in GDA 1. You now issue defensive fire.
Okay.
So you are on a standard volley. So this is where I'm taking a bit of a risk. Your battalion's fresh. Yeah. I haven't softened it up because your skirmishers took all the damage. Yeah. I'm just hoping to exploit a success where you're falling back. So you're a standard volley. And what you also gain, because your battalion is fresh and you've been charged by a column, you also get a casualty dice on top.
Possibly one of your green dice.
Yeah.
Lovely. So we've got a different colour dice. Yeah. I'm rolling here. I've rolled 5, which is terrible. Yeah. And a casualty dice roll of 3, which is...
It's just 1 casualty on that battalion.
So that... Carpe diem is playing off, isn't it?
Yes.
Seizing that moment and pushing on.
It's the so one of the negative factors that could have affected me if I'd taken 3 or more casualties in that charge, that would have been a negative on me. Right. But I've come upon you so fast that you've tried to level your muskets and it's all gone all over the place. So,
what a horrifying image.
Right, okay. I wasn't going to go there, but you did. Of course, you had to.
You can rely on me. Right. Yeah.
So the way a charge works is again there are no. One of the things about GDA 2 to make it more intuitive and to speed up play is the fact there's no plus or minus modifiers now. They are dealt with via rerolls. Yeah. So I'll just go through mine at the start. So what I do is I start with 2d6 in my hand as the charge. So we're having this basically morale ascendancy in the charge. So I start with 2d6. Yeah. My battalion's line, it's 1813. The days of all the veterans have gone. I've got no morale advantage over you. And you're in good order. So I have no other advantages other than the 2 supports.
And they will allow you to re-roll
each one
if you need.
If I need, each one will give me a re-roll.
I
start with 2d6.
2d6.
Now, if you were worn, if I've done the job properly, if you were unformed or worn, for each negative disadvantage, you would add a dice to your hand. So exactly the same as the initiative, the two lowest. Dice, but you're totally fresh. You're what's called termed disciplined, so you're fine. And you've also got the Grenzers in support.
Who can give a support?
Who can give a support?
So I'll put a dice there.
Now, had you been on the flanks, the slight difference in GDA2 is that supports now can either fire or provide a support reroll. They cannot do both. So you need to prioritise what you're doing. You think, do I need to inflict casualties on the attacker as he moves in, or do I just want the battalions there to give that extra morale boost?
Okay.
So we roll. So we simply roll away. 2d6 apiece.
I've rolled
Rich
7.
is on 7. Very average.
Very average.
Oh. Rich has looked away in despair as his own dice have given me a fantastic double 6. Deserved, I think.
Clearly, I mean, it's the gods, the gods of dice.
The gods of dice have done
you. On you. Yeah.
So, well,
you're not going to use a reroll.
Clearly, clearly under these situations.
I am. I'm going to reroll this too.
You want to.
If I get a 6, at least the level of victory will be reduced. And
you've done very well. Yes, it's 10.
Having that support unit has allowed me to get my score from 7 up to 10.
That's vital. So there are two things that kick into effect now. I've rolled a double 6 in charges. And if viewers remember GDA 1, double 6 in charges or firing is a destiny roll. So I will get a destiny roll, which we adjudicate immediately. So I'll just roll 2d6 and see what happens.
And we've got a destiny table in the book, and this is our special events, if you like, that occur when you get a really extreme dice roll like that.
A 5 is infantry recover 1 casualty or combat with a LAN.
Oh, you're going to combat with a LAN,
I think I'm already 2 up. I think I'm already combating with a LAN because I'm in a column. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that casualty off. So the officers are at the front doing their job, the men are inspired, and we're in. So the difference between the two scores, this is no different from GDA 1, tells us the result of that charge. So the difference of 2 with infantry versus infantry is that's combat I'm looking at, which should not be there because this is a different one. It is, we know it is. I'm going to go into combat with a LAN because I've won by 2. And you will go unformed. So if you just turn a base around or wiggle up your bases,
dog's leg a base to show that I'm unformed.
And I'm going in with a LAN. And what I'll do with a LAN is I'll use one of these fabulous markers that we've got here. He's got a little French flag on it to show the LAN, so he's going in with the LAN.
Very nice.
So we can put that at the back to show they're going in with the LAN.
Lovely.
So that's the result of the charge, and we'll resolve that in the combat phase.
The combat phase, final phase of the turn, more or less. So
we imagine that's still ongoing throughout the rest of the turn.
So what do we do next? We go to firing.
That's it. Charges are all done. As you see from that, charges are a lot quicker to resolve. All the nuances are still in there. They're just dealt with differently.
Okay, so now moving. I can't move this unit. You can't move those because they are in the fight and they're
any unit that was a support in the charge phase, whether it used its dice or not, is absorbed in that combat. So that's it.
So you've got the initiative. You move first.
Unbelievably.
You stole the initiative. I think the term is.
I won't be doing a lot of movement because the rest of it was hesitant because I went all out on the left. Oh, he's got a skirmish task in there.
I have.
Oh, it does. There's no point hanging around.
You can't make an omelette without breaking
a great
Polish skirmishes.
Yes, that's right. So remember,
hesitant, but your skirmishes can still
go.
Take the fight to the enemy.
And over here, right. So my light now he's withdrawn out of the skirmish fire range here.
Right.
I can't come out into the open because the limited training of my 1813 light infantry means they're not good enough.
Right.
So what I will do is I'll simply reform in the wood.
Right.
So a light infantry battalion can either reform on the spot if it's in cover, or it can fall back behind a close order unit for free and it just reforms in column. So I had the choice, but I'll do it there.
Yeah.
And the light infantry, because they weren't involved in the charge, they were just moved through. They can move over to the left.
So they're moving around the side
to carry on,
keep pushing the pressure on. Yeah.
And they will. My other light infantry on the far right will stay as they are, and that is my movement.
Right.
Done.
So my movement, they're nailed to the ground. You've moved up, so my skirmishers don't need to move up. I've got a lot going on here with my tasking to the artillery, so I'm not going to do anything there. So my movement's done. As a defender, I'm pretty static in this situation.
Right, so
apart from here where I'm going to be running.
It's running backward.
But I do have a reserve.
Exactly, that's a very pertinent point, because that clearly demonstrates the two sections to the movement phase. We've got the on-table tactical movement, which we've all done, and at the end, after all that's finished, we then move to the reserves movement, which is done in this order now, so it means the players cannot react instantly to someone's reserves coming on.
You mentioned that in the first or second video, and I really like that because it makes sense. We've done our movement, and so it is a surprise when they arrive. So I want to bring them on. Where do I bring them on?
Right, so there are two methods to bringing on reserves. One is if you were using a CNC tasking, which is called commit the reserves, you'd be allowed to bring them on across the whole board edge, because he is commanding it. If you haven't done that, and it's the standard entry which you've done, what you do, you can come in, you choose the centre point, and you're allowed to come in 30 centimetres on either side of that central point.
So I'm going to take the central point that's here, and I'm going to come in here.
Funny enough,
because this is where I think it's needed.
So they can take a full normal move, and I'll get your cavalry for you.
I did know that there was a CNC command, and I could have used that to bring them on right over here on the flank, but my roll was so bad that they could have gone hesitant, and I didn't want to risk that, so I'm going to have to bring them on here. So on they come.
Now you can choose to come in column or line, it's entirely up to you. There. And I think your cavalry brigadier is there.
And how far on do I come, Dave?
If you're in line, you can go up to 25, which is two bases deep is line, so you go up to 25.
From that point?
Yeah.
Right, so I'm actually going to do that. 25 takes us here, and
just put them there.
There we go.
And
they're going to come up.
Put your brigadier general with them, leading the way.
There he is.
That's it, and there he goes. And then suddenly, over the lip and through the mist, there's cavalry. And poor old Belair's gone. Okay, things might change.
I'm not happy about having to commit my reserves at this point, but I feel I've got to do it to try and do something over there. Right, okay.
So that's the movement phase done, and
it
illustrates how reserves, how impactful reserves can be, because they're coming on after everything else. So then we move again straight to the fire phases again, which we are familiar with.
And you have stolen the initiative, so you fire first.
So again, 5 dice there.
No tasking on
tasking. Because I'm hesitant, but we still fire as normal.
And that's 1, 2.
Just so 2 hits, so one casualty. Just chipping
but
away.
Doesn't take another base off, thank goodness.
Now here's the one I wanted, the Polish. Let's get involved again. 4 bases, which you extra gives me 5 dice. Come on, give me some hits.
Just 2.
So 2 hits is just one casualty.
So I'll put that casualty marker on there, saying 1.
And over here, what you cannot do, you can't engage a target that's in combat, hopefully for obvious reasons. So there's no far from my voltage over there.
Okay, so I've got firing over there. I'm not my tasking isn't for that. My tasking is actually for the artillery. I had a reroll, that's gone, so I don't need that. So I'm just rolling, I've got 3 bases, so I'm rolling 4 dice.
4 dice.
And see what I can do. I've rolled 4 and a 5. That's 2 hits, so that's 1 casualty.
1 casualty, because it's skirmishers.
Pretty abysmal. And here in the middle, I have got a tasking on my skirmishers. So I've got 4 bases, which gives me 5 dice, and I take another 2.
2 extra.
Thank you. And let's see if we can give these Polish gentlemen a bit of a welcome. And I haven't rolled any. Oh God, what a terrible roll! 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 5 and 6. So just one pathetic hit, despite my tasking. That's my dice are not helping me.
Not with you. Now some of the some obviously light battalions and skirmish screens will get a bonus. So if you've got, I mean, I hate to mention the rifles, but if you have 2 or more bases in your screen, a rifleman, 95th or whatever, you'll get an extra dice. or if you have the 95th deployed in full skirmish,
yeah.
they will gain an extra dice. So any battalion that is entirely equipped with rifles,
yeah.
and obviously well trained, gets a bonus.
Okay.
So when you start adding in that bonus and skirmish tasking,
yeah.
you can see why the British Light Division, etc., could drive in the French skirmish lines with quite regularly.
Good point, well made. Right.
So that skirmish is done. So we move to artillery. I'm going to keep hitting that battery.
Yeah, I thought you might.
Oh, I'm hesitant. Stand by.
You
Stand
are.
by,
No, you're at long range. You can't shoot, David.
I don't think anything's in.
No.
Right. I can just hit the garrison. Right. So the way firing at garrisons works is they always represent a very difficult target.
Yeah.
So there is what happens when you fire at a garrison with a battery. You are reduced to 1 CD only.
Okay.
And that is it.
Right.
And the way a 1 CD works with artillery and infantry volleys is I will get it normally on your 2d6. If you get a 4 or less, you'll either get fire discipline for your infantry or a fatigue casualty on your battery, which is the same as it was in GDA 1, pretty much. But to represent that, we have a 1. If I on the casualty dice, that will represent fatigue casualty or fire discipline.
Okay.
And also, if I roll a 6, the village will be set on fire.
Cool. Nice.
So basically, I'm just lobbing. It's the howitzer section's the only one that's really engaging. I roll the dice, I get a 2, so clearly no effect.
No
Some rounds have landed in, nothing's happened. I was hoping to set it on fire and see what happens. So that's my artillery done.
Well, I've got an artillery tasking here. Okay. I'm trying to hammer that line. I don't think it's going to save the day over there, but there we are.
You might,
so I get 2 dice from my normal fire, and I need some
green dice to be the casualty dice to be a bit different.
Over? Thank you.
You're still, although you are on 4 casualties, you're not worn until you get to 6. Right. So you're still on the normal.
So
roll.
I've got 7, which is a 1 hit.
Yes.
And I've just done a 4 and a 1.
Well, the 4 every 4 plus, so it's 2. So now. Yeah. So the 2nd Battalion, 105th, are now up to 5 casualties. So they're 1. So the casualty statuses are basically 0 to 5 is fresh.
Yeah.
You carry on, there's no ill effects. As soon as you hit 6, you're worn. That means you'll get a negative fire modifier, you'll get a demotion for discipline tests, you'll get a demotion if you're charging, etc. And obviously, once you get to 12, for the majority of our units here, we haven't got any large, is you'll disperse. And we know that once you disperse, bad things happen.
Okay.
So that's it. So that's artillery.
Yeah.
Are there any volleys? Answer is no, because we're still miles away from each other. Okay.
Right.
So that's done. So we'll move straight to the combat.
Yeah, it's the combat resolution.
Combat. So combat works in a very similar method to General Dame 1. What you get is for each unit in the combat, we start with a base number of dice. Casualty dice. Now for an infantry battalion, it's 5 dice.
Okay, so I'll put my 5 dice out here.
And I start with 5 dice.
Right.
So, and then we just apply the modifiers as we did under the previous edition. So what will happen, because the Austrians are now unformed, as this column has come through the smoke and is bearing down on them, they will simply lose a dice.
Okay.
And the French, because we're going in with Elan, I gain 1 dice.
Okay.
Now, Elan works slightly differently now. If you're a column-based army, which is most of the later armies, you will gain Elan if you're charging in column, but you won't get it if you're in line. Whereas if you're a more linear-based army, such as the early Prussians, the British, you will gain Elan if you're charging in line, and you won't get it if you're charging in column. So it encourages us to adopt, when we're charging, to adopt the formation that the army preferred.
Okay.
So, very simple. I'm on 6 dice, you're on 4. We all know all casualty dice hit on 4 plus.
Yeah.
And we just roll away.
So, 1, 2, 3,
now
6.
6, that's 1 hit.
Pathetic.
So here we go, what do I get?
A lot more than me.
The
5.
dice are in my face. These green dice you give me are lovely.
No, I've sold them to you actually, David. I just haven't told you you're paying for them.
Very, very heavy price at the end. So, Yeah, that's hideous. That's 5 hits.
Yes.
So, infantry combat in the open.
Yeah.
It only lasts for 1 round. It's not really a melee. It's I've come through the smoke. I'm looking really quite hard. So, and the Austrians have cracked. So you take 5 hits and you immediately retreat.
All right. How far do I go, Dave?
So you go of 2 things. You can either...
Do my supports influence this at all?
No, the only thing that will happen now to that support, because there's no second round in that combat, is they will, because they're within 10 centimetres, they'll get burst through by your frontline units, so they will go on forms.
Fabulous.
So these guys take 5, and they can either retreat the full distance, which is 30, or they can drop behind a close order unit, which is your Grenzers.
So they'll fall back and use the Grenzers effectively as a rallying point behind which they can form up. Right.
So even though the Grenzers have been thrown into some disorder, they can still be classed as rallying points. So just shake your rear bases about.
That's it.
Now, my advantage is because I won by so much, there clearly hasn't been any disorder in my ranks. There's been no real contact, you've just broken. Is I can take the ground and I'll remain formed.
Right.
And the supports can move up with me. I need to, actually don't need to even move them. So they're done. So the alarm comes off, it's done its job. The French column got lucky, burst through the smoke and has driven your line in. But I'm now in a slightly awkward position because your cavalry are coming to the rescue. And that is, once the combat phase is done, that's the end of the turn. The hesitants are taken off. And that is it. So there we have it, a tense moment at which to leave you in suspense. I think you've had an opportunity as we played through these first few turns to see how the rules are going. But of course we all know you want to know who wins in the end, although I've already got a sneaking suspicion. So we're going to take a break there and give you an opportunity to refill your cup of tea or whatever you do, your drink of choices, and hopefully you will join us again in a few days to have a look at the next part of this exciting fight.